We got some really scary statistics that just came out. A personal savings rate that just hit a low of 4%. Nearly 40% of Americans have less than $500 in savings. 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Gen Z is at 72%. And the average American carries about $6,500 to $6,700 in credit card debt personally. Why do you think people are saving so little?
Yeah, I think you can obviously talk about the outside factors, right? Housing has gotten more expensive. Cost of living has gotten more expensive. Inflation is a thing that we have been dealing with over this past couple of years. But what's really, really interesting, even though that savings rate hit, quote unquote, an all-time low, it's been low for a long time.
That's what I was going to say.
Right? It's not like it's like we were saved. The only time in the last 20 years we've seen an uptick in savings rate, you know when it was?
2020.
It was 2020. It was
that free money.
Because nobody could go out and spend money. And it's amazing how much money you can save when you can't go spend on anything. And so I think what we're seeing right now is more of a continuation of bad behavior that's gotten slowly and slowly and slowly worse. And it seems like people have arrived at the conclusion, oh, well, life is difficult, life is hard, money's tight. I will never be able to be where I want to be financially, so why would I even do anything differently today? I'm just going to keep moving in this direction. And I think that's just bad information. It's bad intel for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people, when they come out of high school, out of college, understand the fundamentals of wealth building and budgeting and cash flow management and living on less than you make. I think we're failing our young people and having them prepared to be able to do that.
Do you think that that's on purpose? Because if you ask any intelligent person that has any ounce of financial literacy, they would argue it is clear-cut, objective, beneficial to everybody if we have more financial literacy in schools, if people know that they maybe shouldn't be taking out all of this ludicrous student debt for a degree that's not going to guarantee them a job. You're setting these kids up for failure. Is there a malicious reason maybe behind that? Are like the credit bureaus lobbying the universities saying like, hey, we don't want to promote financial literacy? Is there anything going on that we may be unaware of?
Well, I think that it is more lucrative for people to be bad with money. It's why payday lenders do so well. It's why credit card companies make so money. If you look at tuition, how much the cost of education has gone up, it's sort of asinine at this point. And there's sort of two sides of this coin. The more fiscally responsible individuals are en masse, the less profitable some of those entities will be. So there is a misalignment of goals. It's in the credit card companies or whoever's best interest for people to not make good decisions.
I think it's interesting because you were giving us a lot of stats. The one that always shocks me is if you look at the Fed data, the Federal Reserve data on net worths of Americans. You know where there was a huge pop in the last few years, and it was all homeowner equity, which shows me is that the only net worth that the typical American has is the equity in their house, meaning they're not saving any money outside of just the old American dream of just go out and buy a house and then, and you'll build wealth through that. That shows me that we are failing in the fact that there is a better way to do money. And if you knew, like one of the things, we just introduced a brand new resource we updated, we spent a lot of time kind of putting it out there, trying to make sure the education impact was there, is how much should you save? And it's one of if you go look at this resource at moneyguy.com/resources, if you just start saving anything when you're like 20 years old,
it's hard to screw
22,
it up.
I mean, it literally, you just have to basically do rounding errors on, and it can be small decisions like coffee, or it doesn't take hardly anything at all. That's why, look, take the politics out of it. But I do think there's an interesting experiment going on with Michael Dell's contribution, and then these Trump accounts is what they're known, is what if we gave all newborns $1,000? Because we've done the research. If you go to the website, moneyguy.com/resources, you can be a millionaire incredibly easily. Now, look, I know we have inflation and other things, but I can tell you, if you want to get to $1 million or $5 million, get to the million first, and it gets much, much easier. Because I think if people knew that for your newborn, you only need to save $13 a month to be a millionaire, by the time you get to retirement. That's how powerful. But I don't think anybody does that. I mean, I think about, the typical age when people start saving and investing is 30 years of age, where they even discover probably your content, our content. I would love for it. Jack, I think it would be, and more high schools are adding curriculum. What I'm curious about is who's driving that curriculum. If you have the banks drive it, are they going to talk about credit cards, honestly? That's the thing that I always, because consumption is profitable. Selling you stuff is profitable. It's creating people who are independent and know how money works, it's not as easy.
I agree. And I guess for me, that just makes me suspicious because, like I said, every single person with above average IQ and some form of financial literacy would argue everyone needs to learn these things.
Absolutely.
It's not like if they learn these things, hopefully it's not when they learn these. Like, we want it to be ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
People need to know this stuff way more than need to learn all of the other stuff that they're taught in the universities, especially with like the random prerequisites and these other classes that you're forced to take a language class before you learn financial literacy is absolutely absurd.
Do you think it would move the needle a ton though? Because you've heard of the marshmallow test and other things. There is I've often wondered if we stratified, I wish there was more behavioral science research on just, is there always just going to be a portion of the population? Because I think anybody can be wealthy. I really do. I truly believe it. But it's going to require discipline. You living on less than you make. You using that margin to actually create the money that then gets invested. And anybody, if you give it enough time, can be a millionaire.
You know what? It's the same thing with getting in shape. Like, everyone knows objectively how to be in shape, but there's only a small percentage of people who are actually in shape.
And we all know, hey, I need to eat good food, move my body. Eat good food, move my body. We objectively have that knowledge, and yet a lot of people don't carry it out. Saving money and building wealth it's no different.
But this is why I love what we get to do. I mean, I really do feel like we're moving the needle. I truly do. If you go, now look, that's what we had a whole off-camera conversation. We just don't have the sizzle sexy of like setting cars on fire or doing weird things that people, but if you really want to know how money works, we try to lay it out there, so that people can learn the basics.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the Trump account so interesting is because what Dave Ramsey would argue is that people might have the information, which I would also argue that most people don't have the information, but of the people that do have the information and still decide to not act on that information, it's because they lack faith that if you put the good ingredients in, that the recipe will turn out as you wanted it to. People think like, hey, if I go to the gym and start eating healthy, like I won't actually look the way that my idealized body looks. The same thing goes for investing. If I actually save money and I invest it, billionaires or a millionaire is so far out of reach, I'll never be able to get there, which is why I think the Trump account is so interesting because it's forcing these people to actually see the light at the end of the tunnel because they can watch this growth over a period of time.
You know what's funny? It's not forcing people. I've spoken with several people who have just had kids in the last year, had no idea that the Trump account even existed.
Oh, see, that's a lack of
knowledge. And they're just like, what was that? And I explain it.
I got to do that.
I never heard of that.
Had they known, though, they would have signed up.
Maybe I'm just in a bubble. How on earth do you not know about the Trump account?
But
I don't know.
It's one of those things. We'll have young people all the time, high school students, college students. Hey, I just got, whatever. I just got my first paycheck. I have enough. I can go max out my Roth IRA. Should I go max out my Roth IRA? And this will surprise you. You know what my answer is?
Yes.
No. And here's why. So many times through life, I've told someone, hey, go max it out. Way back in the day, hey, put 5,000 in, put 6,000 in. They would do that. And inevitably, 2008 would happen, 2011, flat year, 2022, fill in the blank, and they'd make a contribution in March of one year.
One contribution.
One contribution in March of the next year, it's down. And they're like, oh, this investing thing is ridiculous. I don't like this. I say, hey, instead of going to max it out, just start doing $20 a month. Put $20 a month every month into your Roth and watch what happens. If you can get someone experientially to see what money can do, I'm doing this with my oldest daughter right now, and I'm showing her how interest works inside a bank account. And they can see, holy cow, no, I put $20 in there last month, and this month I have $20.50. Holy cow. And you can get them to experience it. I think that's where it starts to actually stick. It's just most people don't take that very first step of doing it. And then even with the Trump accounts, it's great to use that to teach someone. But how often have you seen someone who they go work for an employer has a match. They say, okay, if you put in 3%, we'll put in 3%. And they do that, but that's all they do. And that's noble and that's great. But if you don't actually increase that, if you don't get better at it, right, it's not going to actually move the needle. So you have to start somewhere, but then you do have to improve through time.
So what's interesting, though, is that just as many people are living paycheck to paycheck, making over 150 grand a year, is making under 60,000.
It's a behavioral issue.
It's not about the dollar. It's not about the dollar figure.
There's a lot of wealthy or rich in income, but still dirt poor people because they spend every dollar they make.
But what separates the people who make less but still are able to get ahead?
It's the discipline. It's the teachers. That's why teachers are always so successful. They somehow
is it a knowledge problem though? Because I would argue that just as many people have the knowledge to be able to get out of that.
Well, and I think a lot of people, even when they're able to get to high income, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 incomes, you would not argue that they aren't intelligent, don't have knowledge. They must have some level of knowledge to get them to where that they are. But discipline really is, we talk about the three ingredients. There's discipline, there's margin, there's time. You have to have all three. Discipline is the one that matters the most in every facet. Like whether you're a 20-year-old or you're a 60-year-old, if you don't have discipline, it's going to be very, very hard for you to be successful financially. That's why we see so many professional athletes who sign these huge contracts, have these huge salaries, and end up broke. It's a discipline issue.
If you look at the categories that typically become millionaires, historically it's like your teachers, your engineers, and then like your accountants are those very popular categories. There's a big disparity on income between those, but you know what they all have in common is that they all start jobs pretty early in apprenticeship type things, early 20s. They kind of all encourage systematic type mind and thought processes. It's the starting early and often that kind of does it. I mean, and I know it's not sexy enough for people to say this cannot be what it is. And I'm here to tell you, just do something. I mean, because that's what got me. I mean, it's back to my Morrow moment, that high school teacher who told everybody in the class, look, if you could save $100 a month, you'd be a millionaire. And coming from no money, I was like, I could be a millionaire, $100 a month. I was working fast food. I was like, you mean I could save $100? I really did think that. And that's what made it happen for me. And it's the reality. It's the truth.
Life insurance is one of those things that makes sense for a lot of people out there, but most people just put it off because it feels complicated, expensive, or time-consuming, but it doesn't have to be thanks to our sponsor, Fabric.
Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance that you can get done today. It's made for busy parents like you. It's all online. It's on your schedule, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required.
If you have kids, and especially if you're young and healthy, the time to lock in a low rate is now. And even if you have life insurance through your employer, it may not offer you enough protection for your family, and it usually does not follow you if you leave your job. Fabric offers flexible, high-quality policies that fit your family and your budget, including options like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day.
Fabric is partnered with Gerber Life, trusted by millions of families for over 50 years. There's no risk, and they even have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can cancel at any time. Fabric also has free digital wills, tools to invest in your kid's future, and more, all right from your phone.
Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/ICHclips.
Again, that's meetfabric.com/ICHclips. MEET fabric.com/ICHclips. The link is also down below in the description. Enjoy.